Hi, guys. Welcome back to Ben from the Bunker. I'm Ben Miller, editor in chief of Guerrilla Publishing, and I'm also a comic book writer. I'm going to start a series about how to create a comic book from scratch. And we're going to start off with the idea and the writing portion of the comic. For many of you, you may have an idea for a comic, and you've been thinking about doing a comic, and you just need the motivation to get started. So we're going to go through this step by step. This first video, as I said, will be about writing and starting the comic. But the first thing you need to do is to decide to make a comic.
Do it! Just do it! Don't let your dreams be dreams. Yesterday, you said tomorrow, so just do it!
So a lot of people make fun of that, but it is true. If you're going to do something artistic, you need to just do it. You decide to do it and go forward with it. Now, the reason you should not do it is you should not do it to make money. Most indie comics do not make money. They actually lose money. You should not do it because you think it guarantees you some spot at one of the big two companies or it's going to necessarily open something up. You should do it because you want to do it. You have an idea and it's something that you want to get done and make and get and share with other people. So we will start with the writing phase.
To begin, how to start.
So that is what a lot of people think of as writing, sitting down with a blank page and then typing it out in your masterpiece. That is not what works from what I found from writing. What I have found works is whenever ideas pop into your head, and most people almost always have a phone, or if you need to carry a notepad or something like that, sketch it down, type it into a document on your phone, whatever it may be, even keep it beside your bed. That way, if you wake up in the night with a brilliant idea, you don't lose it. And so that way, when you sit down to write, you should have pages and pages of notes to go from, so you're not just trying to come out of nowhere with the idea. Now, obviously, your first draft is not going to be good. Neither is your second or third draft, maybe even. You need to work through it and come up with, I like to do an outline of the story, then do the story, but not everybody works that way. You need to find a writing style that works for you. But blank page writing, I find, is very ineffective. And this is something that I was told by other comic book writers when I was getting started, that you shouldn't necessarily do this. Just sit down and be like, okay, I'm going to write now, and this is what I'm going, the ideas will just come to me. You need to have the ideas already there, so that way you can put them together. And not all your notes will ever get used. Some of them may end up in a different story or something different, but that's how you go about it. Now we're going to have to talk about the form of writing a comic book. As you can see here, this is actually the first page of my first comic book that I turned into a graphic novel called Judges. As you can see here, we start with the panel. You say how many panels are going to be in the page. Then you go on to the panel description. Panel descriptions are very important, especially if you're not as familiar with your artist. If you are doing the art yourself, you might not do quite as much panel description. And also, if you're very close with the artist, you can maybe get into a groove where you guys don't necessarily need quite as much panel description as might be necessary. One thing that's very important with panel description is to make sure that you include all the information that you want to be in the book. You can't expect your artist to later have known that there was some tattoo on a character that's integral to the whole story plot that isn't there. You must make sure that your artist knows everything that needs to be there. Also, then you'll see after you do your panel descriptions, you have your captions and then your dialogue. This is pretty much industry standard. Also, most publishers or even artists would prefer that after you finish a page, you end that page and then go to the next one. So this is the, page one, this, page two, this. So that's one thing that I have found as I have changed, but I wanted to include all of this here so you could see it all. See it all there. You can kind of study this picture. I'll probably put a link down below so you can just look at that to kind of get the form for it. There also is a program that I use for this. It's not always effective and it does not always print correctly. Sometimes you lose stuff, so you have to be very careful with it, called Celt. I'll put it down below, but again, I want to warn you in using this product, because it's free, but then when you go to print or sometimes turn it into a PDF, it leaves some things off. So you need to be very careful if you're going to use it, because you don't want to have handed over your script and then all of a sudden some things are missing. So this is how a comic book is created. You create it pages and panels at a time, and going forward, this is what you will go back to when you are working with an artist. Again, I can't stress that enough that you have to include everything you want the artist to include. They cannot read your mind, because later you can't say, I need this in the book.
It's too late.
One night.
It's too late. It's too late.
So you have to make sure you include everything. That way, when the art is complete, you have everything you need to tell your story, because comic storytelling is both visual and words. You need them to match up for your story. Now, before you are done with the writing process, you need to edit. And that means you need to go back and make sure that the story flows well, characters make sense, that you're telling a story based on the characters, and you aren't just using the characters to put them, to get them into certain situations. They have to sign that the characters are thought out and they're well thought out characters. Also, you need to make sure that there are no errors. I'm lucky that I have someone that can proofread it for me. My wife is an English teacher. If you don't have someone that can proofread for you, and you don't want to pay an editor, because in your first book you should not be paying an editor, because in order to get a good editor, you're going to have to put out money that you simply don't have probably for your first book. Unless you're independently wealthy, then go for it. One way I would say to edit your book is to read it backwards, not like each word backwards, but like if there's a paragraph of dialogue at the end, read that first, then go up, then go up, then go up, because that way you're not getting in the flow of the way you wrote it. Sometimes when you read it in the flow of the way you wrote it, you read it as you think you wrote it rather than what's actually on the page. So make sure you edit it, make sure that it is, professional, it has good grammar. Obviously, characters can have bad grammar, because if that is part of their character, then that makes sense. But make sure it has good grammar, make sure there's not spelling mistakes, make sure there's not things missing, and then you are ready to go on to the next stage, which is the art. And we will talk about whether you're drawing yourself or whether you're looking for an artist, how to go through that next one in the next video. So make sure you like and subscribe down here so that you can find out how to go to the next stage. Also, as always, you can find any of our books that we make at Guerrilla Publishing at guerrillapublishinggroup.com, the link down below. And always remember, keep reading indie comics and support your local comic book shop.